Howdy, partners. Welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast, Red Hot Action Summer. This year, we're not going to a specific era. Instead, we're heading out west in what we're calling Westward Ho. This time, you'll find American Westerns from all kinds of eras. There's sure to be some Clint Eastwood, some Peckinpah, and even John Wayne, with a couple of surprises thrown in as well. So tell your ma and pa, come on out, saddle up, and listen in all August for Red Hot Action Summer, Westward Ho. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Mark.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Hold on one second. Sorry, just had to spit in my spittoon over there. It's gonna be.
What do you mean spit in the spittoon? You mean
spit in the spittoon?
Spitting in public.
It's true. Yeah, you don't even need a spittoon. You don't. You know what people do now with their tobacco, chewing tobacco, is they just take around like a soda bottle and they just right into the soda bottle, which is, I guess, at least a little bit respectful. But instead of just like hawking it right onto the floor, but I don't know. How do you feel when you're doing your chewing tobacco, when you've got your pack shoved in there? You just spitting it anywhere?
I don't know. I guess I'm like a credulous fuck because I never think spitting in public's like that big of a deal.
Oh, okay.
Just
so like hawking a loogie.
If you gotta do it, you gotta
concerned.
do it. Just don't be, obnoxious about it.
Sure. Know? Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you've got just a little bit of phlegm to get out, sure.
No.
But, give it a respectful little on the ground.
Or
it doesn't need to spit right next to somebody where somebody's walking, but
or your mouth is overly salivated and I've never been one I think if you do it like our protagonist does in this movie, it can be annoying because it's not just if he's like
right. No, it's like a whole it's like a whole juice that's coming out.
It's a Tex Avery bit.
It's like you squeezed a lemon and it's everywhere. Well, the reason we're getting into spit talk here on Blood and Black Rum Podcast is because we're still in our Red Hot Action Summer, Westward Ho, still heading west, and we are covering a different movie in the American Western saga that we've been doing of late. This one is a Clint Eastwood movie.
It's a porno. That's why there's so much spitting.
Yeah, something like that. The 1970s this time, mid to late 70s, probably. Movie was probably shot in mid 70s, gonna say probably 74, 75, released in 1976, and a lot of spitting in there. And this is this is Clint Eastwood's direction as well, because we're getting into a time period here in Clint Eastwood's life where he said, you know what, sick of taking Italian people's direction. Gonna do my own direction. Obviously, this movie in 1976, not his first directed film. That was Play Misty for Me back in 1971. But it is his second Western that he's directed. And we're talking about... That was your cue. Sorry, that was your cue. No, I was going to let you fill it in, but no, that's fine. I'll take it. The Outlaw Josie Wales. That's what we're talking about.
Clint Eastwood's The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah, that's right. How do you feel about, before we even get into anything else, how do you feel about an outlaw, really gruff and rumble-tumble outlaw that's named Josie? How do you feel about that?
Well, you know what he needs. His pussycats.
Yeah. And also
the entire time I was thinking of the 2001 movie Josie and the Pussycats,
Oh right, yeah.
And all the songs around there Spin around, spin around, spin around, spin around all day. We're going to have to do that for like a Tara Reid block, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I feel like Clint Eastwood did not expect a Josie and the Pussycats movie, though, when he made this movie. And then, like McClintock, we have sort of a potential to mispronounce the name, because I feel like a couple times they do pronounce his name Josie, like emphasis on the S. Josie.
Yo, what's up, Josie?
And then you've also got Josie, you know, more of a Z sound on the S. So, you know, a double name there again. Now, this one
I'm going to go with Josie. If
you're going to say Josie
yeah.
with the Z sound, and that's how I would generally say it as well. I do find that it is not the stereotypical characteristic gruff name for you know, Clint. You know, certainly not the man with no name. You know, you go with the man with no name to Josie. Hey, Josie. You know, it's sort of, I don't know. It just seems a little bit more lighter than the mysteriousness of you know, the man with no name or something like that.
Well, because we're supposed to be able to connect to him.
It's true.
You know.
Yeah.
He's not just a tumbleweed blowing through a town.
Yeah, he's got a little bit more emotional heft, which we'll talk about.
Just like,
yeah.
Which, by the way, we're gonna really have to do Josie and the Pussycats, because I also forgot that it's not just a Tara Reid vehicle. It's a Rachel Lee Cook and Rosario Dawson vehicle. So
it's true.
Two of my Hollywood.
There you go.
Favorites. So
we will have to do it at some point. But about the Outlaw Josie Wales, so you're the one that picked this one.
Yes.
Why?
2 reasons. One, we needed a Clint film. Gotta have Clint.
Not a glowing recommendation. We just needed one. We needed a Clint film.
It's true. You know, if you're doing American Western, gotta do Clint.
Sure.
Also, too, I've seen parts of it. I've never seen it in whole.
Okay.
Like with McClintock, this was on like TCM at TMC, you know, TCM at times. When they would do like Western runs, and to be honest, thinking about it, I'm curious to how the hell that went with the censors and cutting it for TV, but
yeah, probably not too bad. I would.
Yeah, but like I saw like bits and pieces of it, like, you know, the opening action sequences and some of the things, and you know, it's always been a movie that I've wanted to watch because I knew it's considered one of Clint's, you know, finest outings, and that you know, him also as a director, I do like his work, and you know, was like, gotta put this on the bucket list, you know.
Sure.
So, that's why I suggested it. You know?
Gotcha.
And I already knew because we mentioned it before, on and off the air. You have never seen this one either, so
nope.
So we were getting a twofer here. That, you know,
it's true. No, I've never seen it. You know, I've seen a number of other Clint movies, but never. I don't think I've ever seen, besides Gran Torino, I don't think I've ever seen another Clint directed movie, because I've never seen Play Misty for Me.
Gone Baby? I mean, not Gone Baby, $1 Million Baby.
Nope, never seen it. Nope. So it might be my only.
Flags of Your Father or Letters from Iwo Jima. They used to play the fuck out of those two movies on FX back in the day.
Yeah. Nope, I've never seen either of those. So it may be my only film from Clint Eastwood that I've seen that he's directed now. But I have seen a number of other Clint Westerns, you know, specifically his spaghetti Westerns, and I do love them. I mean, I think that he had a typecast role, if there is any definition of it. He has it for these types of Western feels, and he certainly hits the mark. I think, like, you know, when you think Western, first and foremost, even though some of the other films like Django have kind of proliferated, I at least for me, and I think for most other people, you think Clint Eastwood. It's really difficult to put a different face to that Western. I mean, maybe Lee Van Cleef you might think of, secondarily. But I do think that Clint Eastwood really comes to mind, and for good reason. I think he just, for one thing, he did so many. For another, he just has this very particular affront to him that is just kind of drives the idea of the solitary Western, hero. And it becomes almost sort of an archetype in and of itself. And of course, it's an archetype, played off of other archetypes, but at the same time, it's kind of its own thing. And, here in this movie, he's not really doing that much different, which we'll talk about. He's still, if you kind of took his character from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly or anything else and kind of transplanted it in this movie, for long stretches, you probably wouldn't notice any difference. Besides maybe his hair's a little bit longer in this one. He's got like that nice coif going on.
It's so beautiful.
It's like a nice featheriness leading him into the 80s, I think. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you wouldn't necessarily notice much difference. Although I do think that in this movie, he's trying to get a little bit more range out of himself. That maybe he hasn't been asked to do in some of his other Westerns,
You're sitting here and you're going, is that Harry Callahan, but back in, 1850s and 60s, not, 1970 San Francisco?
Exactly. So, but yeah, I think, it was a good pick because, again, we were trying to do some different eras. This is obviously for Clint Eastwood, the 70s specifically. This later period is kind of the big deal for him. I think that it is an important element to add for American Westerns because, again, we'll kind of talk about this as we get more into the movie, but the Outlaw Josie Wales is definitely much more Americanized than you see from a spaghetti Western. We'll talk about how kind of Clint brings that particular directorial style into the American way that maybe they couldn't do with a spaghetti Western. And, some of the ways that those differ, even though the similarities are, present in this movie. So, but
it's also too, like, cause it's like, it comes out in 76. It's basically, one of the last, like, kind of like, at least in my eyes, kind of like feels like one of the last like big hurrahs for like the American Western because, by the time like the early 80s, are rolling around, Westerns are fully out of, taste in Hollywood and, they're getting replaced by the modern action film. And not to say they're never to be made again, but, the whole industry, like having a little cottage industry dedicated to pumping the films out, is gone. And you know what? I'm going to like put a little soapbox here. Congress, you need to pass a law that says like, listen, this is America, damn it. You need at least 5 Westerns a year.
That's true. We need heritage, right?
Yes, do it.
There needs to be a production company like American Heritage.
That's
Western.
literally as American as America gets. Like, listen, I don't want to have to just wait every 5 years for like True Grit to come around, for the Coen brothers to be like, all right, let's do something great, or whatever the hell. Get on that.
It's true. Yeah, we need something more from our,
okay.
Again, like
don't let Cowboy versus Aliens,
Yeah, be the one that defines us right now. Yeah. And I think there are every now and then there are some, and I think to that point, or the other problem is you have stuff like Yosemite that's like trying to stand in as a Western and be doing a very poor job, and you're like, and
is
it's
that
sort
a spinoff of
well, there's like Yosemite and Yellowstone.
I was gonna say, yeah, is it like a spinoff of Yellowstone? Or is
not
it like...
really. I think they're all different kinds of things, but they're all doing essentially the same thing, which is a bastardization of a Western, or just like a poorly written version of one. So I do think, like, again, those types of things sort of take away from the dynamic of the Western in a way. And unfortunately we have no more Elmore Leonard who can, crank out a nice Western story, situated or even, a combination neo-noir style Western, which is always really cool.
You don't have to, like, I'm not saying it has to be pure, Buster Scruggs,
Sure.
Neo-noir, revisionist, go ham, but at least, have a quota set, like, I should see one, or maybe 4, one for every season, so you can do, like,
Now you're starting to sound like the anime community.
Well,
we need one cour every season.
I want to see Clint's boobies.
And anyway,
who's our Discord Catan? Oh, if you're a lady and you love listening to the podcast,
that's right.
Message us on Facebook so you can become our designated Discord Catan.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break before we go any further. Let's talk about the beer that we have on the show today. So it's my turn. Martin did have a pretty good suggestion of, since this film does take place in large part in Texas, the idea was to try to find a Texas-based brewery, and he offered up Shiner Bock, which I'm pretty sure that we have not had on the show. I think I've had it like once before, and I've had a couple other Shiner beers. It's not that super impressive to me. They haven't been, but that I thought it was a good pick. So I did go out and look for Shiner, but I could not find him anywhere around. I did a search on.
I would say I do know we have Bock around because I've been meaning to try. I've never had the Bock. I think the only Shiner we've done was either an Oktoberfest or it was like the Pecan Winter Ale.
Yeah, it was one of those two. I do. Yeah, I agree. I think we did the Oktoberfest, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, I even used their online beer search, and I couldn't find anywhere else. So I went to look at where it said it was, and they didn't have it. So either it was flying off the shelves or it was an outdated thing. Whatever the case, I couldn't find it. So I went with the next best thing, which is import from England. Because that totally makes sense for we're not even talking Revolutionary War or anything where I could have tried to, finagle that in and say, listen, but
I can finagle it in.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I'm sure you can.
Let me do that real quick. I can do that real quick.
Get us to England from Texas here.
Okay. Which, if the fact that you're not instantly, when you hear the word Texas in 2026 and you're not going, choosing Texas by rail, the L.A. English song.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sidebar. Civil War, Western Theater, Missouri, battles going on. Union and the Confederacy might have been a Confederate camp that had a British officer who was studying the battle. That's how you get here. There. Ta-da.
Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah.
Like in Gettysburg.
Okay. All right.
The movie Gettysburg.
I'll allow it. Allow it. There's probably a easier way to get to that point from the Outlaw Josie Wales, just like somebody was British in the movie, but
the Enfield rifles.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that works. Anyway, the reason why I got this beer was simply because we've talked about it on the show previously and that we were interested in trying it because we knew that it got sold and that it's potentially a changed recipe. So that's it. That's really the reason. So we got Newcastle Brown Ale on here. And I think we've talked about this a little bit in that Newcastle has really kind of fallen away where you can't really find it that easily anymore at least around us. It used to be you could just go into your local grocery store and they had Newcastle. And sometimes they had Newcastle Werewolf.
You could go to your local Sturts.
Yeah.
Up here in upstate New York.
Yep.
Again, thinking about it, it's don't know who was distributing it back in the early 2010s. But when I worked at Sturts, we had it. That's how I first tried it.
You used to just kind of be able to go and get it. And now it's really fallen away from us. Not really mass marketed anymore. I've not seen it in many places. So when I saw it here and also realized that it was a current beer, and not like a really old one that had been sitting on the shelf, I grabbed it because I thought that would be something interesting to try. So
it's also not the Lagunitas revamp that came out while in the interim when Heineken, which I thought this was going to be, but when I looked at after Ryan dropped the bottles off, says, it's brewed in the UK and by Heineken, so it's not the Lagunitas one. So I don't know if they still make those ones or not, but they kind of filled the gap in with their own recipe for like a couple of years,
right?
Because they stopped importing Newcastle because it wasn't selling well here,
right? So, and I don't even know if we had the Lagunitas version. I can't remember now.
I don't think we ever did.
Yeah. But now this is definitely the Heineken version, because if you look on the bottle, it definitely says Heineken. Direct your complaints to Heineken's email address, stuff like that. So the one thing I do like about this though is that they've for better or worse, they have retained the clear bottles, which is just something that Newcastle has always done traditionally. And, that's kind of a no-no now especially for beers like this, that brown ales are kind of darker, so they tend to not be as tainted by the sun, but, much like the Coronas and the Mexican lagers that are bottling in clear bottles, Newcastle's doing the same and did have a tendency to get quite skunky at times, at least in the old recipe. What I will say is that I think they're taking a little bit more precaution where the box is like very heavy duty, so there's not a lot of light seeping into it. So you still get the clear bottles. And I like it because I think it does really showcase the clarity of the brown ale that you have in there. And I will say that I think this recipe is pretty good. I can't, for the life of me, remember back. It's been probably 10 years now since I last had a regular Newcastle. I can't remember what the actual taste was like, but I would say that I think this is pretty tasty. It is sort of like, it definitely has a more English style brown ale flavor to it. It's got a nice malty body. Still very drinkable though. The mouthfeel is somewhat thin, like almost what you would expect from a nice like drinkable lager style. A little bit of nuttiness to it, not extensive nuttiness that you would expect from like a more a traditional American brown ale that we have, which really like drives in those caramel roasty nutty notes more so than this one. This is almost more like it's a very drinkable, sessionable, malty with just a hint of like that caramelness to it. I like it a lot. I would definitely get this again as just like a, if you're sick of lagers, sick of like just plain old standard Americanized lagers, I think a brown ale from Newcastle is what I would prescribe, to get you out of your doldrums. So, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, it's nice to have it back. Again, I like you. I don't recall. It's been like a decade since the last time I've had it. It's, this would be, I think, a pretty solid rotational fall and, winter beer because it's got the easy drinkingness and like a thin body like a lager, for you to easily kick back, but it's got enough breadiness, maltiness, nuttiness to make it, feel like it's heavier than it actually is and make you feel like, I'm being a little bit toasty here. It feels like a little bit of like a pumpernickel. Not spicy or anything, but like I do, like I'm glad that, it's back because this is solid. And I do think it's great too, because I do think about like the Facebook ad they used to like in the 2017 or some shit, where it was like directed for American audiences, and it's like, no, Newcastle, no bollocks, and they're like interviewing people, and it's like, I used to think Newcastle Brown Ale would be heavy because it's a brown ale, boy, wasn't I fucking stupid. Like, because they go on and talk about, like, how it's, like, light, refreshing, and easy. It is true, because, like, for American palates, your general American beer drinker, they would think, like, this is so heavy. It's like the same thing when you talk to somebody who's like, I drink dark beer, heavy beer, like Guinness. And it's like, if you've drank enough Guinness in the world, you know, it's not heavy at all, because it's nitrogen, it's creamy, and it's 3%, like, you know, ABV. So, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like the change up. I like it a lot. It's kind of like a more complex, like, if you were to say, like, a Dos Equis or Corona, like, dark.
Right, like the darker,
you know?
yeah. I was thinking a very along the similar lines there. Is sort of like the, sort of like that, or Modelo, Negro sort of thing going on. I do get a similar style to that, but I think it's really good. I think it's really refreshing. Would definitely get it again if I find it. Again, it kind of makes you miss being able to just go out there and get it. Like, you know, it's just not, you got to kind of go search for it now. And again, like Newcastle Werewolf, that's non-existent. You used to be able to at least get that when it came around for, you know, during the fall. And now I don't even know if they make it. And maybe they don't even make it anymore. Like, maybe Heineken is just like, no, we're only making Newcastle Brown, and that is it. So, if you're listening, make the werewolf again, because it's just like a fun little thing.
What would you rather have, this or Magic Hat to come back?
Oh, Newcastle Werewolf, 100%. Other than like the Magic Hat Night of the Dead, like, I mean, the Hex Oktoberfest was not even close their best beer. For sure, it was their best. But yeah, I would still take the Werewolf. All right.
I'm almost curious. I almost at this point, I think number 9 still getting produced.
You had said that before, that they are making it. It just doesn't really get
distributed. I think that's the only thing they're making anymore. But I'm curious enough to try it, because I know Magic Hat. And if you probably listened to the earlier episodes, I probably bitched about them ad nauseum, because I hated every fucking beer they've ever made.
Most likely.
Except Hex. Because there's a good actual on, like, Oktoberfest. But number 9 really pissed me off, because it's like, it's not a pale ale when you drink it. And it's like, it's a fucking pear apricot fruit beer, and it tastes like shit. What the hell? And so, like, I'd be kind of curious in my old age of 40 to see if I drink that now. I'm like, oh, this is just like so delightful, you know?
It's true.
What enough about Obama year beers?
That's right. That's true.
We're going to the Carters. Wow.
Yeah.
No, this would be Ford still.
Yeah, we're going back to the Civil War. And in this film, the Union, those blue bellies, they're just shitheels that are raping and pillaging good Christian Confederate homes. You know, people who are just minding their own business. And that's really what spurs Clint Eastwood's character, Josie Wales, on. He's at the beginning of the movie, I will say, it's a great harrowing moment at the beginning of the movie where it's almost, you know, sort of like Patriot style, which the Patriot obviously is, we're talking 30 years later, but the same idea is where Josie Wales is just, you know, having a frolicking time in the woods with his son. They've been hunting or whatever, and he comes back, and what are they doing? This Union people, which they're calling the Redlegs here, which were a faction of the Union, almost like a sort of like secret militia style,
like a paramilitary.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And I didn't really know about them either. I had to look up Redlegs specifically, because I don't know that they necessarily teach that in the Civil War, American government and civics classes, but they basically. He comes back to his house burning down, his wife being ripped out and taken from the house, and his son's still in there. And there's this... And he tries to help, but he gets pistol whipped across the face, leaving a nice scar that will remain throughout the film, cutting into his signature beard. And there's it's great, honestly, when he's dragging his dead son underneath a tarp or whatever that he's got, and the hand falls out, and you can just see like this tiny little burned hand. Yeah. It's great. It's a great moment. Props to Clint Eastwood for really tugging at the heartstrings there. Just to say, like, these fucking union people, look how terrible they are.
Which, by the way, this is based on a book. I didn't even know this book existed.
Yeah, I saw that. It's mentioned at the beginning of the film by Forrest Carter.
Yeah, the rebel outlaw Josie Wales.
Do not know this author at all.
Which is always the fun thing. I love when films are made and they're made like based off of books and they got the rights to the books. Like as soon as they come out and it's like a book that's not even big or anything. They're just like, we're going to do a movie about it.
Right,
like,
yeah.
The
one thing that you would think is like, you would expect to have seen like, Louis L'Amour wrote like fucking 300 Western novels, didn't he? Like, why aren't there more Louis L'Amour,
There's just this one.
Well, yeah, I was like, why aren't there more of those books? Like, all of a sudden, somebody just was... The thing that it seems like is like, this was like sort of a passion thing. Somebody was reading Forrest Carter's novel and they're like, wow, I really like this novel. Like, I have to make it. Yeah. I don't really, like, again, like you said, it's sort of a nobody sort of thing, an unknown novel. Probably... Anybody who is thinking about the Outlaw Josie Wales is probably thinking the Clint Eastwood movie instead of the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was based on a novel. And yeah, at this time, if you were an author, you were probably hoping somebody would just stumble upon your random book in the bookstore.
Also too, because when we did the fucking Rabbit movie, you're going to have to remind me what the fuck it was called.
Movie. Night of the Lepus. Yeah, the Lepus.
Yeah, so that was based off of a book. Again, the 70s, that's why it's the best decade for films, man.
It's true.
Fucking anything goes. Like,
that's right, yeah. It's just
like, all you need is one person who's like a B-list Hollywood, in Hollywood, whether it be like a writer, actor, whatever the hell, be like, hey man, I read this book. And then and you just go and talk to Bones McCoy, and he's like, well, this is fucking stupid, but sure, send it down to the studio. And they're like, well, why not? It costs a quarter to get the rights.
They're like, we got nothing else going on right now. I mean, go for it. Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I don't know. Again, it's hard to say. I don't know how much that Outlaw Josie Wales really takes from that book versus sort of making up most of the rest of it. It's like, again, I just never seen or heard of the book before. Kind of goes to show how many books there are in the world of just like random shit that you could read.
I don't know. The writing industry does, befuddle me, thinking about Stephen King and like, I know like with Kunze, they got like, ghostwriters and stuff, but even still, it's like, Jesus Christ, like how the fuck do you do that? Like pump that much?
Cranking them.
I will say, the opening is great. Love it. It's a lot like, for me, I was thinking about Once Upon a Time in the West when Henry Fonda's gang shows up and murders the farm family at the homestead.
Right. Yeah, and I think, like, to your point, that is a very common trope of the revenge plot of a Western film, right? Like something that spurs our hero on. It's not, and again, too, one of the things about the Western film, and particularly Clint Eastwood style Western film, is that it's not necessarily Clint Eastwood has just a big heart, right? He's not, he's not setting out and like, I need to stop these union members because I believe in this moralistically. Like, this is my ethical stance on what they're doing in the Civil War.
So I have a problem with this. I, as a God-fearing, history-loving, will not stand for pro-Confederate nonsense of
well, no, I agree with that.
No, hold on. No.
Yeah,
So the opening, it's not based on a real event. Even if it was, like, to use it as like a, crutch to be like, why, yes, the government is bad and we're just trying to be down here and be free. It's stupid and doesn't work. It works in ways here because, again, when we talk about like the chief and others, like, talking about, the American government as a whole fucking them over.
Mm-hmm.
But at the, like the Indians and such, valid points and all that. But at the same time, like to use, because again, Josie Wales is dyed in the wool. He's running out there singing Dixie and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Sure. Rebels. He's doing it because they came and raped and pillaged his farm. But to have him then team up with the Confederates and be like, I'm not gonna quit and blah, 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 it does give it's a lost cause. Like if it's kind of hinting at any glory at lost cause shit, it irks the shit out of me because that's why these assholes today get so mad at why they're tearing down the old Stonewall Jackson Bragg statue. So. I mean, it's a small part, and that doesn't this, I'm just saying, I'm going on a little rant here, like that, like as awesome as and good as intentions storytelling as that is, for reasons for the opening, I don't, the whole, Confederates, being riding around like the fucking, in the Patriot with Mel Gibson riding around all Missouri,
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I was almost ready at the beginning of the film to kind of write this movie off. I was like, Clint, what are you doing? Because there is a very almost revisionist style, apologetic, well, look what the Confederates are just trying to be just living their lives here in these areas. And to a certain extent, individually, sure. And I think the reason why I do, why I was after that occurred and we sort of get into the meat of the movie, I was more readily accepting of what the film kind of plays out, is that I think it is I don't like the opening, like you said, for the same reason, but I think once it really gets into the film, it kind of shies away from that. And what it really is trying to get at is listen, the Union is trying to round up all these, what they call outlaws, because they used to be Confederates, and sort of all they're really doing is making them sign their lives over and say, listen, we're not going to go against the Union anymore. And it's not working. It, I think, is what the idea of the film is saying is it's not working to just go around and round up posses of people and make them sign their name, because first of all, they don't care. Yeah. Second of all, there are still going to be people around that may or may not be sympathetic to the Confederacy. And all it's really doing is causing more violence. And the film kind of goes into that throughout, and it's showing, like you said, the government itself is not doing a very good job of managing the population and managing the violence that is occurring between, as they're trying to come together, they're really not, right? And so the idea behind Josie is that he's an outlaw, but he literally is bringing people together. He's rounding up a merry band of misfits, sort of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer style over here, collecting all these people, collecting an Indian chief, collecting who he calls a squaw, and it just collecting all these people, and they're they're all disparate people,
the Mexican, and
and I think the ironic thing is he's doing a much better job and cleaning things up at the same time, and he's able to sort of give his word and live peaceably with other Native American nations that they've never been able to manage. And
it's a very libertarian,
very true.
This inept government, being the overlords when we can come together and work it out
and do it ourselves, right? Exactly,
as men. And I was gonna say the whole that was a thing too. When the Confederacy surrendered, they had to go, they had to turn their arms in. it had to, take an oath saying that, which again makes sense if if you were rebelling against the country,
We like your word that you might not do that again. Please.
Yeah, which again, but like the film doesn't talk about Reconstruction and the failures of it, so that's like a whole different topic. But yeah, like that's like good because like the fact that like maybe there should have been more than just the one fucking blonde-haired dipshit being like, "We whooping good," like maybe have one other guy be like, "Yeah, no, like it's bullshit," but because the rest of them are old and tired, and they're like, I just want to fucking go home, like which you can understand too. Like if you were in a war and you got your ass kicked, and I'm not just saying like
right,
the Union just dominated. Obviously not. Look at this, battles and stuff, but. After 4 years of fighting, you're probably like tired. I want to go home. My wife's probably dead.
Right. Yeah, in the sort of like the anxiety of it too, yes, of the situation of being, like literally could be potentially your neighbors. There. I mean, I'm not saying that happened a lot. Like there was a lot of like by state lines and things, but like the anxiety of the constantly being at war at home. It takes a toll, and yeah, you can understand. At the end of it, they're just like, I'm done. And like, what is there left to do?
I was say because Fletcher, the guy who's the leader of this, band of ragamuffins, he's the one that turns them in and convinces them. He's like, I've had enough. I'm tired. I want to go home.
Right.
And And to be fair too, because like we don't know like how long they fought in the war, could have been the entire time, but because like Josie's just happened, and like because my wife and kids are dead, like his vengeance can live on as like the torchbearer, to keep be the flame of the Confederacy to keep on going, because of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the setup is really good because you have sort of this. And again, like Fletcher himself is, yes, he sets them up, but he doesn't realize that they're going to actually like murder them. Like that happens at the, right at the start, where basically they just pull out a machine gun and just start gunning everybody down, even though they said that they were just going to sign them into the Union.
It's not a machine gun.
Sorry.
It's a Gatling gun. That pisses me off every time when I'm playing Red Dead, and they're like, get on the machine gun. And it's like, it's a fucking Gatling gun. And then Red Dead 2, they have the audacity to be like, get on the Gatling gun, and it's a fucking Maxim machine gun. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry. I know.
But like, so, he does set him up, but at the same time, he has that sympathy with the Outlaws and with Josie. And so he's basically being forced into this position of like, all right, well, I have to go after Josie, and I have to, help these redlegs that I, may not necessarily agree with to bring him back in, because that's what the government is telling me to do. And that kind of sets up this, very similar to something like the Wild Bunch, of a posse that's following our protagonist at every turn. And very similarly to the Wild Bunch as well, this movie does sort of in the middle of it take a sort of like left-hand turn to go a different direction for a little while the posse that's following is sort of left out of the main narrative for a bit, which I found very interesting, because the movie again is like about 2 hours and 15 minutes long. Not saying that it's overly long, but I do think that for a large part of it, towards that like middle to like third act area, I do find that Fletcher's band of misfits, led by that red leg guy Jamie, kind of drops out, and it sort of leaves a really weird lull in the proceedings.
You're waiting, and like it's like the last 20 minutes, like you're like, wait,
yeah,
where the hell? Well, it's like, well, they're gonna show up because the movie's almost over, but it's like, they've been gone for 40 minutes. Right.
And my one complaint there, and I'm not even saying that I think that the rest of the proceedings that occur, like, especially the Comanche Indians and things like that they do have encounters with. I'm not saying that those are boring or anything, but it does almost feel like they kind of lost the plotting a little bit in terms of the pursuing, Union people, the soldiers that are coming after them. Just feel like they sort of left that hanging for a while, and then at the end of the film they kind of pick it back up, and at that point I feel like some of the impetus of it is gone, because you're almost, and I think too part of the problem is Jamie as the red leg is not extremely clear as an antagonist.
It's Captain Terrell you're thinking of.
Am I?
Jamie's the
Oh,
Jamie's
sorry.
the,
Yes. Sorry, Captain Terrell.
Yeah,
the red leg captain.
Jamie's the little
guy.
The little goofball who's like, we whooped
That's
them.
right. Yeah. No. So like with Captain Terrell, I think that he's not fleshed out enough to the point where it really cements this vengeance trip that we have Josie going on. Yes, he was part of the Redlegs that attacked and murdered his family, but I don't think that the film spends enough time showcasing like Kim as a particular antagonist in that part to really give it much heft at the end. And so, and again, I think like the vengeance piece is something that Westerns do a lot. This movie doesn't necessarily need that. I think what it does better is just like I said, bringing this band of disparate people together to showcase, like, look, they can make a community. Like even like the grandma Jayhawker who's going on and on about, I hate, it was really funny part is when the guy in the saloon is like, or not the saloon, the general store is like, well, I'm a Hoosier, and she's like, I can't really stand them either. And it's really funny. But like at the end of the film, it kind of brings her together, and it brings like I said, the Indian chief, Lone Wadey together. I think Chief Dan George does a great job. He's one of the most, the person that brings the most comedic levity to the film. But I think it's another really funny scene where the grandmother's like, we're going to get these Redskins. No offense. And he's like, none taken. No problem. No problem. And then later on, he's like, we're going to get these pale faces. And he's like, no offense. And it's a nice little trait of racism there. And it's really funny. But I think like the bringing together this disparate communities is really where Josie Wales does well. And not necessarily hinging on the revenge piece. I think that's sort of like a side note and not really the best part of the film, in my opinion.
No, because Captain Terrell, he is weaker because he's just like he's there. They raided, Josie's, homestead, and he kills his family. But we don't get to see him like really act or emote after like the first 20 minutes of the film, after the whole camp fight. After that, he's just kind of he's the guy that's been sent to track him down. He has like Italian, like I was thinking of, like, he looks like with his hair and his sweatiness, like the guy from The Great Silence,
Yes,
but he's not like as menacing or anything because they don't use him enough. And
sure,
Fletcher is basically just like the guy from, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but from the Wild Bunch, that used to ride with, because he's basically doing the same thing. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Right. The commiseration sort of I understand.
Like, I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. If you do that, I know him. This is what we're going to, you should do instead because of blah, 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 So like, and he's not bad. He's not bad at all. But again, like his role, doesn't really, Fletcher doesn't really feel the full effects until like the end of the film. And
I actually would say that the end of the film where there's sort of this showdown, right? With, again, Clint Eastwood's direction, doing a very good job of managing sort of the mood and atmosphere of the film in a way that some of the other spaghetti westerns couldn't do because of their budgets. Obviously, he has a lot more budget here for lighting and cinematography. He's more focused on specifically shadows. A lot of the film is covered in shadows, specifically faces. He uses top-down lighting a lot to sort of cover a lot of the faces of people who are wearing hats on purpose, so you can't really see their eyes or you can't see their facial features. In that final showdown, it's a great moment where you can't really see who's sitting there, and then all of a sudden it's revealed and it's Fletcher, and they kind of have this back and forth, they obviously know who each other is, and when they're trying to say, oh, what are you talking about? We don't know any Josie Wales here. We've got a Mr. Wilson over here, this guy who looks like
he's just here from the background, fucking Dennis the Menace. Oh, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah. And you have this kind of showdown where there's the expectation, or supposed to be, where Josie's thinking, will Fletcher bring me in? When is he going to bring me in? And I feel like that's kind of lost, because I didn't really feel that at the end of the film. I didn't really get the expectation of like Fletcher's going to bring him in, definitely. It's more so like, I think because you've already seen so much of the commiseration between the two, you're just kind of inevitable that Fletcher's just going to be like, listen, I'll forget about seeing you. I don't, and that makes sense, and it's kind of a feel-good moment.
It looks great, as you were saying. Sorry to interrupt, but like that shot that Clinton has of Fletcher, at the table is perfect. It's almost like a fucking anime cutaway.
Yeah, sure.
Because the lighting is like so perfect. It's like cutting. You can only see the top of his head, like eyes, his eyebrows, his hat, and his mouth and everything. Is covered by the shadow, and it's like cut perfectly across the screen. So it's like perfectly symmetrical, and like as it's going back and forth, as they're all, in the bar talking about, Mr. Wilson, because there's Texas Rangers there taking an affidavit of like the bullshit they're feeding, them about like, oh no, he got shot by 4 men or whatever the hell. So
yeah,
it's great.
I think what I find really interesting about Josie Wales that I actually like about it in terms of in comparison to some of the other spaghetti westerns that Clint's been a part of, and other, just in general, other spaghetti westerns and westerns, is the fact that in this film, we do get to see Josie as a person sort of with a bit of an emotional element to him. And there's, again, there's a love interest here in a lot of films that star Clint Eastwood. He does sort of get a love interest, but it's like very quick and fleeting. It's more like a one night stand sort of thing. And here it's more based off of relationship. And you do get this sense that he's going to leave, right? He's going to leave them behind. He always has to take off. And there's this idea of the hero in a Western that has to submit to asceticism, right? That they can't have anything good in the world.
Hold on. What was that word you just bandied out right there?
Asceticism, the idea that you have to give up like your worldly possessions or any acts of pleasure that you have in the world.
Wow.
Right?
That might be the first time in a couple of months
that I got you another word. Yeah.
With a word. We should have like Wile E. Coyote, like, with like the Roadrunner, bing, like anytime you like use a word, like, and there's like a sound drop. So like, that's not just for me. Like, who's like running around, like throwing that word around? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I was just thinking about it. Like, that is typical of these types of movies, that the hero is sort of almost expected that, like, their entire life has been devoted to, like, and it kind of shows that in Josie Wales for, like, the beginning sequence where he just stands there shooting at a piece of wood until he gets good enough to, like...
Which is great. That's, like, that is great, because that's, like, Shenmue, because it's, right. like, he's like Rio. He's not, like, this happened, and it's not like he's automatically this badass that, can just run out and do this. Like, you're watching his training montage. He's sitting there, feeling the weight of the gun, firing, doing it in both hands, and you're seeing it over progress. And again, as I was telling you off air, like, it's especially cool because what makes, like, at least for me, the weaponry and stuff that I love during this time period is it's black powder, and like all the revolvers and stuff look beefy and great. And like in Red Dead 2, like on the online, like one of the weapons that they only had online is a Navy revolver, and it's like an 1857 like Colt Navy revolver it's based on. But like that's cool because again, like those are cap and ball. Like, yes, they're revolvers. You can put 6 shots in, shoot them. but it's black powder, so there should be fucking smoke everywhere. They're caps, and they're fucking firing lead balls, not bullets or anything, balls. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna be inaccurate as fuck too. Like, so it's like really cool that he's got his, 2 1847 Colt Walkers, and he's got like 6 pistols on him, because it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna reload these. Don't have the time to reload these. That's not how they're built. They're built to get your shots off and switch to something else or whatever the hell.
Right.
So that's like really cool to see, like, see all that. So
yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the idea that we do get to see his training for sure. That's just another example of like the Clint Eastwood style, or the archetype of the hero who really can only devote their life to doing these things, to getting better at shooting, to getting better at getting revenge. You can never settle down. You've always got to be on guard. Stuff like that.
It's great too, because like one point that I've been harping on off the air, and I do want to talk about, is like Clint's sexy as shit.
Sure.
And he looks great in this. In his like frail 120 pound body, his big hair, his scruffy beard, and his love the hat. The hat's like the best like hat he's ever had in a film. And he's just exuding this,
Yes.
This sex appeal. Problem is, like, with films like this, you don't see the wife, you don't see the kid. It's like, oh, he just has them. And like, when you see Clint, like how Clint plays Clint and is Clint, it's almost like I want to see the before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe he's gotten married. I don't believe he's had kids, because as like sexy and machismo as he is, he's like got like a really like asexual vibe. Like, I don't ever like, that's why like at the end, like with his Laura, his so-called love interest, it's not needed at all, because he's like, again,
right,
and it's not just in this film, but it's like in a lot of the films, like you said, like with Two Mules with Sister Sarah and other things. Like, yeah, he ends up with like this one night stand or whatever. So it's like, yes, like, that's a man, all right. But it's like, it's like, what's more manly than being like, I don't need sex?
Just the way. What's more manly than just sitting off contemplating by yourself while everyone else does the work around town, around your homestead? There's that scene where he's just sitting off, like basically like flicking grass into the air while everyone else is like, pounding in signposts, building a fence. Everybody else is doing all the labor.
Beating the dust out of a rug.
Yeah. Here's Clint just contemplating.
Yeah. But it's like, just thinking about it, it's like, that man don't touch pussy. Like, he's like almost like Andrew Tate vibes of like having sex with a woman that's gay.
Yeah, right.
Like, but not like that it's gay, but like, just like, he's so engrossed in vengeance.
Right.
Like, there's two, he, especially in these types of movies where he's out like for vengeance, they always have like, the person whose family gets slaughtered at the end. Like, they have a love interest, but he always comes across, because there's really like, when like, it seems like if you know people, like a lot, like if you're like somebody who's married and your beloved dies, you're getting remarried within a year, or you're fucking a widower till the end of time.
Sure.
So he doesn't come across as like the, well, wife, kid's dead, time to move on to the next,
Right. Yeah.
He's, like, I don't need that anymore.
The only thing, like, and again, like I said, they're trying to, it seems like Clint is trying to get a little bit more range out of himself here, and trying to, he does have the tendency here to have a little bit more of a sense of communication with other people, especially with, Lone Waddy a little bit more than something like, say, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or Fistful of Dollars, where he's not really a conversationalist. Here he's got a little bit more. He has a sort of a little bit more comedic element to it, especially with the squaw, who he's a lot of times the joke is like, she just won't shut up. Like, I don't know what she's saying, and she just won't shut up.
That's also
so, like,
great, like fucking misogyny too.
Sure, it's like,
fucking sitting
everybody
there,
just make her shut up, please.
Like, he's like, hey, she's gonna run into trouble. And then she's just fucking going on and talking in, Navajo, and he's talking to, Lone White, and then he's just like, I didn't say for her to keep fucking talking. Like, she's just going.
Yeah. I think like they're trying to get a little bit more out of him. They're trying to get a little bit more emotional range. And I think to some extent it does work a little bit. However, like you said, you do get the feeling that like because of the way that he's so focused, there's almost no room for anything else in his life. And they do a couple of moments where they try to pull away from that. Like the time where he's kind of going to the squaw, and then all of a sudden he finds, oh, wait a second, she's on top of Lone Waddy there. And he's like kind of got this great disgusted look of like, what is... I'm just gonna, nope, never mind. I don't even want to know what is going on under there. That's a great moment. And then the other one,
Lone Waddy, very proud of himself.
Yeah, he really is. He's like, you know what? I'm an old man, but look at that.
It still works.
And then the other part is when he's, especially back at the homestead with Laura Lee, and she's like, why don't you show me? And they have this little dance sequence where she's like, do you know how to dance? And he's like, no, not really. Because that makes sense, right? Like that totally makes sense for a person who's been almost, devoted to just this sole purpose of getting revenge. They like, no, I don't really dance. Yeah. I don't really read. I don't really do anything. But
the one song that he knows is the one that Jamie was saying before.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's which is like, do you know any songs? And he's like,
it's like sad, but funny at the same time. It's like sad that that's all he knows, but funny that's like, again, this is the person that he is. And it's hard to kind of see him any other way. I think that's part of the reason why Clint Eastwood is so typecast, is like he just has that persona about him that makes it really hard to envision him doing anything else. Like, can you imagine, a Clint Eastwood character just going out and doing some tap dancing or something? Like, yeah, I like to kick it loose sometimes and just do some tap dance every now and then, He can't even have fun while drinking whiskey. He's like got to be sitting there with like this dour, sour puss face on, waiting for a bounty hunter to come blasting through the door. So, again, there is that idea of asceticism. I think that the Outlaw Josie Wales kind of circumvents that. The film doesn't really come to that conclusion, though. It doesn't really go, say whether he's actually going to stay at the homestead or not. I presume he does at the end, but I don't know. What was your take on it? Because he kind of just, again, it's the ride off into the sunset sort of thing. Do you think he goes back to the homestead with Laura Lee, or is he just kind of riding on his way?
No, he's dead. He got shot in the stomach.
True, he could be. He could be dead, but I also don't believe it.
But no, I don't either. But especially because he rides from town and back, and like takes to like the end. He's like bleeding blood,
bleeding out. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like I'd like to believe he went back, but like it's ambiguous enough because he's so ornery and uncommittal to things because his life in Missouri was upended and ruined. Can he learn to love again? I don't think he doesn't. Like I said, he doesn't seem the type, and like I said, that's why I like the whole with Laura just like comes across as forced because it's like
sort of unnecessary.
Yeah,
the reasoning being they were sleeping with each other at the time. Yeah. So in real life,
but it's I think it could be either way, and it'd be funny to see him like, I'm going down to Mexico with you, Fletcher. Let's go and look for this asshole. We're gonna go look for this asshole Josie Wales. What
do you think about the shootouts and stuff in this movie? How's that blocked? How's the action choreography?
Great. Absolutely great. Some of the best like gunfights you'll see in a Western. The opening with the whole, Union camp and the Gatling gun and fucking amazing. Just, a little James Bondy in the fact that like fucking Josie's, in a fucking tent. It's on fire. He rolls out and it goes to like another one and starts firing and then somehow sneaks out without anyone noticing. Like, But it's fucking great. And again, like I said, the fact that because again of the time period, and they get like almost every weapon in the film is like time accurate. Like him running around, with 6 revolvers, like boom, 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 boom. Great. And I also like too that they explain because they're like, oh, he's lightning, he kills everyone. I also like that they explain because when they're in that the first Texas town. And the fucking snake oil man's like, it's Josie Wales! And then you got the 3 Union soldiers sitting there like, should we kill him? Like, what do we do? And then he kills them.
Yeah.
And they're like, Lone White's like, how'd you do that? And he's like, because it's like, again, like, it's not like when you see him, it's like with the good and the bad and the other guys. Like, he's pulling his gun out and he's super fast or anything. He's like, well, that one looked like he was going to shit his pants, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
That one, didn't look like, he could pull his gun. Yeah. But that one looked crazy, so I went for that guy first, Like, so it's like, it's...
Yeah, I think that it's
good.
Cool.
It's good. It's good psychology, because he's, giving his thought process on it. And at the same time, that makes sense on, how this is happening. Because, again, too, when they first show up in Santa Rio, and the bounty hunters come, and the one bounty hunter comes in, and he's like, you can go home. You don't have to do this. You can go home and just walk on by and forget what happened. And the guy who goes and walks out, and then he comes back in, and he's like, oh, yeah, that bounty's $5,000. I'm not going to... And he's like, yeah, I knew you probably couldn't do that. And then he shoots him dead. And it's kind of that's just great. Great, though, because it's like, all right, because they mentioned, oh, yeah, at this point, he's killed, 60 people. If I was a fucking bounty hunter, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's killed, fucking 60 people at this point. I wouldn't be going in to be like, I'm going to face you by myself. I'd be like, you need, 20 men.
Right, yeah, just storm it.
What do you mean? He's killed 50 people.
I do like that idea that it's not, mystical. It's nice. There's no, wow, he's just, has supernatural ability to shoot people. It kind of sets it up that, yeah, he's practiced. He's he knows how to read people, and that's the reason why he's so good. And then the fact that he is a person that can read the psychology of the people that he's fighting against, I think is really important. And it kind of sets him apart from some of the other characters that just seem like the ability, a mystical ability to be able to kill people. I think that the shootouts are really cool. I think that they have a lot of great moments. Again, the direction is really nice. Like that one scene where Clint is sort of way off in the horizon, riding over the hill. And they're like, what is that guy doing over there? It's a great shot, because again, the whole idea of oh, you want the sun at your back so people can't see. It's a nice little touch there, a nice callback.
Same thing too when they're going through the sand of the desert there.
Yeah.
We could see that they're, trotting along to where the sand of the dune is, blowing, and it's going to blow over the tracks, so.
Yep. The other thing that's really nice, I think, is that ending scene with Terrell where he's showing off and he's got all 6 guns that he's pulling out of every pouch on his body, and each one of them is empty, and he's just kind of click, 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 click. It's a nice little, terrorization. Speaking of terror, one thing that really I thought was interesting, especially towards the beginning of the film when you have that first opening sequence, is that the film does utilize a lot of stings in the score that remind of a horror movie at times. Especially the rape sequence, the implied rape sequences of a rape is going to occur, and there's very violin based stings that occur to kind of sell that horror. I thought was pretty cool, especially when Laura Lee's getting basically all of her clothing ripped off, and it's got this
Jeff Goldblum was in the background, so I'm like, yes, hi.
It is kind of a nice little Me Too-esque element to it that they kind of even recognize, what's the scariest thing that could happen to you? Being a lone woman and a group of 8 sweaty, hairy
banditos.
Banditos pull open the door and that's all that's, there's no protection there for you. That you're in danger. That's the scariest thing. I think it's pretty nice.
Well, they
inclusion in
weren't
the film.
going to do anything like that, but when they opened the wagon and she's got her out of place 1977 Farrah Fawcett hair flowing in the wind, they were like, they lost themselves.
That's true.
I do love too, like after they're getting ripped apart and like her clothes all ripped up, but she get the rape is stopped, and the one guy yells at her as like Clint shows up. Fix yourself, like
he says, fix yourself,
fix yourself, because her bare ass is out and everything.
Yeah,
they rip her dress off, and it's just like,
yeah, and that's it's a pretty wild part.
Man, I almost like thinking about it. Like I almost want to be like put in a time period like this where it's like you're riding with 20 of your bros and you haven't jacked off in 7 months, then.
Yeah,
or known the touch of a woman in 3 years, and it's like the one that like you can find. You're like, yeah, like all 70 of you're gonna go Google. Like it's just funny to think about, like how like, which I meant like again like is like I can imagine like why does that happen? It's like hormones, but at the same time it's just like funny to think about. It's like,
yeah. Very the worst in humanity for sure.
Yeah,
imagining the worst.
Yeah.
But it does make for a nice dynamic film. So what else did we talk about that I didn't cover yet?
Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining.
That's true. It's true. Another favorite of mine is just when John Vernon is getting all worked up as Captain Fletcher, and he's like, he's a goddamn blueberry son of a bitch. And he just goes off like that. It's great. It's a nice little interjection there. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of it. I guess what we didn't really talk about is what do you like more? Do you like this more Americanized version from Clint of a Western, or do you like the spaghetti Western better, or what do you find is the difference in the two?
So are you just comparing this to like a Sergio Leone?
In general, I mean,
or
like the stereotypical spaghetti Western.
Like if they both have like their place, I can't like pick one style over the other, and especially again too because a lot of the spaghettis were shot in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
This is shot in the mid 70s, and it's got like a Hollywood budget. But again, like Clint's committed outside of Laura's Farrah Fawcett hair to like the make you feel like you're in like a spaghetti Western, in the time period, like like everything feels, like it looks and feels and has a grit. I think he does outside of like a Leone, the Leone films, like he's got a better eye and is able to take those Italian sensibilities and groundedness and make more of an epic out of it, because it's not like every spaghetti Western that you watch, for every Once Upon a Time in the West there's some Django knockoff. So he gives like a nice this film, you would go into it and you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm watching like an epic Western, but by the end, like it does like kind of lean into that, like it like a Greek Homer type esque,
sure, yeah,
and like just like it's how big it is, because there's a lot here, and like he makes how he encapsulates it all is spot on.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have a hard time because again they both, each thing does like their own, and has their own, value.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I don't really have a preference. I think they all do something a little bit different. Like you said, this one's a little bit more polished, I think, than a spaghetti Western at times. Again, because it does have that, it is more contemporary feel, obviously. Like you said, most of the spaghettis were in the 60s. It's just that much later on. It also has a lot more budget, a bigger cast and crew and everything else that kind of goes along with Americanized movie making is here. It's not like Clint said, "Hey, I want to make a Western film," and they were like, "Well, we don't really have a budget for you, so like you're gonna have to work on shoestring here." They obviously gave him pretty much what he was looking for. So I think like it definitely has that going for it. So I think, like you said, it's really hard to compare. I don't know that you can necessarily say like you definitively like one or the other, unless it's just a overall preference. Like it's fine if it's just an opinion. I don't know that you can really compare them fairly though, because there's just so much different about the make and everything else. But yeah. All right, so let's give the Outlaw Josie Wales a rating. So on a scale of 0 to 10, dulcet, sultry tones of John Vernon's voice. Man has a great voice. He's got almost like a Clancy Brown type, very deep.
Yes. Great. I was thinking about it. Yeah, like Clancy Brown, but with a very slight tinge of Canadian.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He's got a great voice. What do you give the Outlaw Josie Wales?
Well, I'd give it like a 8.5 out of 10. This is a damn good film. Really good. Can't remember if I gave the same score to the Wild Bunch or not, but or if I gave it a 9. Either way, it's interchangeable. This is great. This is a great Western, and it's just really engrossing and tells a good revenge story, and it's simple, to the point. It has great action. Clint's got a great eye as a director, has really good shots, and everyone's terrific throughout their performances. The few small divots in the film would be a poor villain and at times slightly meandering story that's giving weird lectures.
Yeah,
but it's a damn good film. It's got a lot of great action in it. And if you like Clint Eastwood and you haven't seen it, check it out. Because he's just doing Clint.
Yeah,
he's no different than like his other roles.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10 as well. I think it's a really good movie. It's really engrossing for the 2 hours and 15 minutes that it takes place. It's really, really quite engrossing. It has I think more so setting it apart from some of the other films, like with the Man with No Name trilogy. It definitely has a more robust cast to it as well, to kind of give Clint Eastwood some foil. Especially considering he's like I said, he's kind of got a ragamuffin team going on. I think that it works to the film's advantage. Instead of relying completely on Clint, it kind of gets mileage out of some other characters as well. But again, Clint is really doing his part as the exact type of person that you would expect, which works really well too. The gunfights are great. It's got definitely the action that you're expecting. Again, I think that the revenge piece is probably not the film's strongest suit. I think it's just more so the fact that it kind of has this very interesting dynamic with the other characters that kind of sets it apart and like you said, almost a libertarian-esque, political spectrum of saying like, we don't need the government. We can just do our own thing and, it'll work out just fine. But I think like from that perspective, no, I don't like align with libertarian values. I can understand, especially during this time period, why you might do that. And I think the film makes a good case to that point in a lot of ways. Again, one of my main complaints is that the pursuing union members kind of drop out for a little bit, and that sort of feels like it gets lost in the shuffle. And the whole Confederacy was just a group of quiet individuals who were trying to live their life is sort of mincing the idea of the Civil War a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, I was able to overlook that as sort of just a specific impetus for Clint Eastwood's character, and not necessarily like an individualist perspective of the Confederacy, I guess. So with that, I really like the film. I think it's a really good Western. You should definitely check it out. Especially considering, like you said, Clint Eastwood's direction is great on it. A very, very solid American Western. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. All right, so that does it for the Outlaw Josie Wales episode. We're going to be back again next week with another film in our Westward Ho series. Again, we're not going to be in the same era. I think we're actually going backwards again, a little bit here. And we've got, 2 more episodes next week and the week after.
Yeah.
We got 2 more for you. So it should be a good time. And then we're going to probably go right into our Halloween episodes, I'm assuming. So we're gearing up. We're doing a ton of stuff. And to be honest with you, we've missed out on a lot of stuff too that's in theaters that we really probably wanted to do, but just did not have a chance to do. That happens sometimes, unfortunately, but it is what it is. We'll catch them later. But yeah, thanks for listening to our episode on the Outlaw Josie Wales. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're liking Westward Ho. Stay tuned all August long. We'll be back with more Western episodes. If you liked it, subscribe on pretty much any podcast app you can think of. We're on Apple Podcasts or Homebase, Spotify, whatever you use. I'm sure we're there. Subscribe, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. We're on Facebook and Blue Sky. You can search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com where you can write to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to watch. We also have a Patreon page where you can donate to us. Anything you donate goes back towards beer. So we appreciate that in advance. Again, thanks for listening to our episode. Don't be like Clint. Don't be a ascetic guy who's trying not to have any passion in his life. Go do something fun.
Listen to the Gorillaz song.
That's right. Feel good, eh?
Not feel good.
Oh, not that one. Oh, well, yeah, that too. Yeah, the actual. I thought you were saying like the theme with asceticism. Don't be living a passionless life.
Which song's better?
I don't know. I'm not a huge Gorillaz fan, regardless. So
Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood, or Primus's Lee Van Cleef?
Well, I would probably go with Primus just for preferential treatment. But yeah. But anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time,
take care.